What's up, everybody? It's Ricky here. Hope you're ready to get into another Sunday prep. Yeah, let's do it. I want to start this Sunday off with a gigantic, and I mean gigantic, happy birthday to my man Goose's 3 kids. That's right. He has 3 boys, triplets. Bless that man and his wife's patience, but those boys are amazing. Happy birthday from Uncle Ricky to you guys. I hope you had a great one. Now, I want to use that as kind of a teaching point. Why is it, do you think, that Goose has had such a long and successful career in one of the toughest industries in the world? It's because those boys are his why. You must have an unbreakable why, a reason, a driving, motivational force behind you to make it in this industry. So that is the reason that Goose is so successful. It's because of that why. So I highly encourage everyone to figure it out. What is it that drives you to do what you do? What makes you wake up in the morning? It's not just so you can come stare at some charts, guys. All right? This is a means to an end, and I want everyone to have that squarely in front of them every single day when they come to the market. We don't do this for the sake of doing it. We do it because we have a motivating reason why. And it can't be something shallow like, I just want a Lambo. Come on, guys. So, speaking of Goose, if you guys didn't know already, every middle of the week, Wednesday, he puts out a midweek watch. It's free. It's actionable ideas that you can carry into Thursday, Friday. They're amazing ideas. And if you guys don't know about this already, it's most likely because you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel. Go subscribe. Turn on the notifications. Do not miss another midweek watch. Do not miss another Sunday prep. Do not miss any other free content that we decide to start putting out, guys. It's simple as that. Next, hit the like button if you like what we're doing. If not, I don't mind a thumbs down. It's fine. But please, leave some comments and give us some constructive criticism of what it is you'd like to see more of or what we're doing good. But also, I'd prefer to hear like what you guys want more of or what you'd like to see cut out, okay? Lastly, just last little note heading into the week is Thursday is the second episode of the Ricky and Kim Ann Curtin method and mindset Instagram thing we're doing, which I want you guys to go to and check out. Make sure you understand it's not on my Instagram channel. It's not on Kim Ann Curtin's Instagram channel. It's on TrueTrader.net's Instagram channel. So make sure you guys go follow TrueTrader.net's Instagram, and that way you'll be notified when we go live for that. It's Thursday, 5 p.m. Market time, so Eastern Standard Time. Now, like we said last week, I expect the small caps to light up as the earnings kind of taper off, and that couldn't have been more true. The small cap market, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. In fact, we're turning the corner here in the fall. October's around the corner, and I actually think that this is only going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. So the reason I bring that up is because when we start hitting these kinds of markets, these Sunday preps actually become that much more important, especially to me. And obviously, I know you guys think I do these for you, but trust me, I'm very selfish, and these Sunday preps are for me. I'm just giving them to you guys so you can see the thought process. But the reason they're so important is because those small caps take a ton of my focus because you have to be on point when you trade them. So these large cap ideas, I just set alerts, and as they hit, I pull up the chart. I already have the plan. I just act accordingly. And then I can have trades that are working for me where they don't need a ton of my attention, and then I'm able to focus on the small caps as they undoubtedly always deserve extreme amounts of focus. So yeah, that's where we're at with this prep. I actually put in the blog, #PrepOrDie. You guys have to do these preps. I know you can just take my ideas and make them yours, but you're only getting Sunday, right? You're not getting my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday prep. You guys have to understand this is an everyday piece of work that you have to put in. All right, so I want to get right into the meat and potatoes, but first, the disclaimer. I, nor TrueTrader or any of its affiliates, are registered licensed security broker dealers. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Nothing that you hear me discuss is a solicitation to buy or sell a stock. It's just my opinion, how I'm going to approach the week. Make sure you understand, guys, this is for entertainment purposes only. Trading is risky. You should know that. You dig? All right, guys, so here we are, the ES. the S&P futures, right? And what have we done? Well, new highs. Pullbacks get bought. At this point, this is just becoming extremely, extremely mechanical. Like if we zoom out, you guys can see just how mechanical this looks. The more this happens, the more I'm really just kind of thinking the only way this is going to ever end is a parabolic blow-off type move. Unless that happens, I just feel like all pullbacks are dip buy opportunities. Extensions can definitely be faded, but it's not going to result in what we consider an actual market rollover or a correction. I just think we're going to need to see some, in my opinion, when it's just this mechanical, if there is any macro shorts left in this, they're just getting slow cooked like a frog in a pot of water that they slowly turn to boil, right? So as far as areas of support, the first area is the 20-day. Obviously, after that, you got this quarterly pivot right here at 4,400. And then after that, we have the 50-day. As far as levels above, obviously, there's last week's highs, but we closed on them. So I don't really, it's going to depend on where we open. If we gap down, then I'll use last week's highs, which also coincides with that 4,500 psychological level, as well as the quarterly pivot. I would use that as the first area of resistance. But if we don't gap down, if we just open around there, I don't see anything until the monthly up there around 45.40, and above that, it's quite a bit of ways to the next area. Granted, you don't have to just use these pivots. If things get extended, you don't got to be finding the top. You can always just look for the lower highs and look for technical spots where weakness shows up and we have something to risk against. So make sure you understand that concept in terms of how you would approach the short side on these ideas. So next, obviously, the NQ. Let's head over there. And I really just had the same thing written down for the NQ. Literally anything I just said about the S&P or the ES can be applied to the NASDAQ. It's just mechanical. Every dip gets bought. We're just kind of grinding higher, chugging along, kind of like a train, just chugging, chugging, chugging. Until we speed up and go choo-choo, I just don't see it ever ending. There's no longs have no reason to be getting out when every dip just gets bought up the way they're getting bought up. There's no reason to panic, and the shorts are just getting slow cooked, like we said. So the first levels of support, again, obviously there's the monthly right there, the monthly kind of right by Thursday and Friday's low a day. But that's not going to be something I'm super interested in. If we pull back to the 20-day, that's the first level where I actually see reasonable support where I might put capital at risk. Below that, you got the annual pivot at 15, let's just call it 15.1. And then below that, I'm sorry, that's not 15.1, that's 15K, right at the psychological level, which is important, guys. So 15,000 is a psychological number, and it's right also at the annual pivot. So you have support there is a possible area, and then you have the 50-day, which coincides with a monthly pivot. As far as looking above, monthly pivot at 15,534. And then the quarterly up here at 15.7. Again, no different than what I'm thinking about with the SPY. As far as will I take strong stocks pulling back to support long when the markets pull back to support? Yes, I will. Will I fade extended stocks or stocks that are popping into resistance if the NQ and the ES speed up in the levels and we're a bit extended from the 20-day? Yes. I will be nimble biased this week, because the market says I can probably play both sides, and there's no real extremity as far as, or there's no reason to have an extremely strong bias on either side right now. So I'll play what I'm given. Let's head over to Bitcoin. So here we go with the Bitcoin chart, and just like if you guys go and read last week's blog or watch last week's video, we pulled back exactly to the level we were pointing out, and it held exactly. 200-day and the annual pivot. Obviously, the 20-day has since moved up, but that was the level we were looking at as the no-brainer support, right? And it held. So our job is just to follow along the progression. Is it still behaving? Yes, it's behaving beautifully. The bull thesis still looks intact. I still think we're going to probably go up towards 57,000 and test that level we discussed last week. I don't see that happening this week unless, this thing goes parabolic right into it, at which point, remember, if something speeds up into a key level, then I will be looking to fade those moves. But if we just grind up to those levels, I don't think there's a fade in it. But I do think we're going to eventually make our way up there. I don't think it happens this week. I think it's something in the next 2 to 3 weeks we see ourselves try that 57,000 level. And that's obviously barring any unforeseeable events happening. Obviously, the macro is always going to be able to move markets, and we have no control over that. So when things develop, we take note and we act accordingly. All right, so next we're going to do our sector analysis. So we're going to head over here to our barchart.com. Oops, I didn't need to click that. Stocks, stock market sectors. Going to do the short-term matrix. Hopefully you guys are getting the hang of this. And I want to point some things out. So last week, do you guys remember what we said about the financials? Said, look, the financials had a negative week. Things looked like there was some weakness until you take a deeper look into the ETFs. And we said, what? It's pulling back to support. And so we knew that doesn't necessarily mean we want to short financial names. And lo and behold, look at the week ahead. Straight bounced right off that support. We're back at all-time highs as far as the ETF is concerned. And you can go and look at financial names like equities, and you'll see that some of them had some great moves. Following along with that same thought process, last week we had pointed out the energy sector. We said it's weak, but we don't want to short the energy sector because it's overdone. We said, look, it's way off. We're so extended from the 20-day, and lo and behold, a big old bounce right into levels of resistance. So what do you think my thought process is moving forward for this coming week? My thoughts, now we can look to fade energy names because they've popped back into resistance, and the overall sector is weak still. If you had to look at all the sectors, energy has been the weaker of all of them. So you always want to at least focus your efforts on fading names where big money's not coming in, right? Because big money, you don't want to be on the opposite side of the trade as them. So if big money's not, if they're hands off on the energy sector, some of those names are probably going to be easier to fade, especially now that they've popped in resistance. Now, the other note I had was the healthcare sector. Notice they had a weak week. Their week had weakness. So I want to pull up the ETF and see where we're at. So XLV, here you go. Again, just like last week's financial sector, here we have a very strong trending ETF, and it pulled back to support. So same thought process as last week with the financial sector, have that same thought process this week with the healthcare sector. Just saying, look, I wouldn't fade the healthcare sector just because it showed some weakness last week. You have to understand that it really has been strong. Look at the 3 month and the 1 month, and you see that it was just a pullback to support last week. So that's the thought process on the sector analysis. Hope you guys can peek into these. Remember, you can always click on the sectors and go and look at what stocks comprise those sectors, so you can figure out, oh, if you want to focus on buying strong healthcare companies, go into the healthcare companies and see what stocks, what individual equities look strong, look like they've pulled back to support as well, and are going to offer an opportunity. You'll need liquidity, you'll need range. A lot of them don't exist in that industry, so that's just a little tip for you. But that's my sector analysis for this week, and we'll get into the ideas now. So moving right along to our strong stocks for long setups first, right? So strong stocks looking for continuation. The first name I have is Mara. Oh, remember, I remind you guys every single week almost when we do the Bitcoin cryptocurrency analysis that I don't trade cryptos, right? But I do trade crypto-related equities. And here you go. The chart looks great. We had a really strong Friday. All last week it was a push up, a pull back to make a higher low, and we made a higher high. So basically what I'm looking for on Mara, obviously it's going to depend on how Bitcoin opens and how cryptos are doing come tomorrow morning. But what I'd like to see is a dip. So I'd like to kind of see a dip to Thursday's high, which call it 38.50. The reason being, I can just draw it for you real quick. It's also going to be about a 50% retrace from Friday's price action. So you can see 50% is going to put us right into Thursday's highs. I don't know if we get down to 38.50. We may hold, you had Wednesday's highs, which line up perfectly with the round number 39 as well as the annual pivot. So I may actually start in on early weakness, scooping 39s, ready to add 38.50, and then looking for some levels to hold and see if it wants to turn and have another day of continuation higher. So that's the idea on Mara. So our next idea is Disney. And remember, guys, this swing idea was from a few weeks ago. And it happened after this day. I think it came out right before the earnings, the idea. And look at what happened. It literally retraced to give us one of the best risk reward entries possible, and has since been behaving well. So if you're in the swing, there's nothing for you to do. It's just hands off. It's either going to your stop or your target, and you know how to act accordingly because you have the plan. But if we're looking at it from a day trade perspective, I still think there's some trades to be made in here. Let me get off that. All right. Another strong Friday. I love when I'm looking for long ideas. I like to look for stocks that had strong days, especially when the market was strong. Now, if the market's weak and the stock had a strong day, that looks even better, because in a weak market, that shows relative strength, right? So the other thing I've noted was when this pushed up above all this resistance, it pulled back right to the levels that you would want to see hold. You got the 20, the 50, and the 200 day all right in there. And what did it do? It pulled back to them, and then the next day shot up like a rocket. So my idea for this one is a pullback off some morning weakness right into that quarterly pivot area, 178. If that level fails, I may entertain lower. I may be looking to scoop if we come back towards that 50, 20, and 200 day level. But I do think Disney is ready to rock. The earnings are out of the way, and this setup just looks really nice. And, you know, I honestly would, if we come back again and start testing some lows again, I may add to the swing, because it's the swing idea looks very juicy as well still here. So that's the Disney idea. Let's move. Next idea is AMD, and I think it was on last week's or maybe the week before's. It triggered on Friday the long setup for me. You guys can see it right here. The pullback, push up, higher low, higher high. Targets the highs for this particular setup. I never got a pullback on Friday. I was trying to get long on this Friday. Never gave a pullback. So I'm sitting here waiting still. Will I get the pullback? We'll see. The first level I want to buy it is the retest of the breakout level there around 110. And if that were to fail to hold, the next area I'm looking at is the quarterly pivot / 20 day. We can call it 108.70, but it's probably going to get my attention earlier now. I'd probably be starting in on it around 109. I definitely want to be there for AMD if this is going to have some continuation, because this, like, look at the strength and the volume this move happened on. Everybody's been waiting for this thing to finally reverse after this pullback. And so this is kind of the first signs of it. You know, it kind of gave that false hope here, rolled over lower. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are coming in on this name because I think it has all-time highs written all over it. So that's it for the strong stocks looking for continuation ideas. The next section is oversold reversion setup. So let's get into those. Heading on over to OSR. And VRM's the first idea, and it was on the previous preps as well. I think the last 2 weeks. Now, this is the exact same setup I just showed you on AMD, but it's for a reversion setup, not a continuation. It's still there, it's still the low, high, higher low, and now we've triggered. So I'm looking to buy dips. You can see that the trigger also lined up perfectly with that monthly and quarterly pivot. So we'll see what kind of move we get off the open. If we get weakness, I'll look to scoop with some levels to risk against from Friday's price action. Or if we just gap up and go, I'll just look to buy dips and join trend, because I do think this is going to go back up to the 20-day. It doesn't have to happen all in one day. It very well may be a swing for me. There may be a day trade in there where I just lock in profits if it closes strong and I leave a piece on for that swing. So that's how I'll be playing VRM. Moving on to DLTR. Now this one I don't think it's there yet, and the reason I say that is because of how weak it closed on Friday. After, you can see the tail on that daily candle, right? It tried to push up, ran right into resistance from the previous day, people that must have got bagged, and it sold all the way back off and closed at lows. So when things close on lows like that, it may have another puke on Monday, and that's what I'm hoping for. So, and it may not get down to where I like it. Obviously, the 85 at level is where I want this thing to come. But what I will be looking for, no matter where it gets to, is for higher lows intraday to form and see if a trend starts to develop, because I do want to be there when this reverses. So DLTR is the last idea from the oversold reversion setups. And that's it for the long. So let's move on to the short ideas. So the first short ideas we always go over are weak stocks looking for continuation. And I have LYFT as the first one. And you can see what I wrote down about LYFT was Thursday, a pretty ugly daily candle, but then Friday, it tried to push back up and midday rolled back over and pretty much gave up all those gains. So I feel like people that were buying are probably, not too happy with this and thinking that they're getting ready to dip out and bail. So I'm looking for this thing to probably lose Friday's lows as the trigger, and then I want short pops and join the trend on this because it may want to come back down and retest 46 and 45, maybe even lower. I just think this thing's been really weak. All pops into the 20-day just end up rolling over and making new lows. So why should we think this time is any different, right? You also have the 50-day kind of creeping down, may cross back under the 200, and then you're going to have, all your daily important moving averages all upside down. You have the 20 under the 50, which is under the 200. So LYFT is the first idea. The next idea we'll get into is PSX. So here is PSX, and what do you know? Straight from the sector analysis, guys, we said energy had a big rally week. That was why we didn't want to short it last week. Look where this thing went. Went from down here straight up into resistance. And there's no reason to think that the energy sector is somehow going to change its stripes all of a sudden. It's just lower highs, lower lows on all the higher time frames. And it's the same with this, and PSX has been one of the weaker names. So I'm looking to fade this on any push into that, the annual pivot 74.30. You got the quarterly at 75.30, and then you have more resistance up here when you push towards the 200-day, 50-day monthly pivot. I will start in the 74.30s and add to 75.30 and then see how it wants to behave. If it looks like I'm wrong on that idea, I'll probably stop out and go flat and then reevaluate it and be like no position heading into the 50-day, and I'll put the position on again and see if we can get the same idea to work out. But I really think this idea is a good one if we get up there. I think if we push up into those levels, there's a lot of people up there that are just looking to get out, and energy as a sector has just been weak. So I really like this idea. So that's it for the weak stocks continuation. The next section is the overbought reversion setup. So let's get into those. All right, so overbought reversion. I have BILL written down, and I really want you guys to understand something. This needs to be coming with this disclaimer that I do not think this is ready yet. It could roll over from here. It could retrace. I don't want to be short here. This is a very nice, strong daily candle on very high volume, and it was on earnings. I actually think that it very well could have 300 plus written all over it. So if we were to get emotionally extended somewhere up into the 300s, you see the quarterly and the annual up there, then I will look for lower highs and some weakness to fade and catch a reversion on it. But it's not ready yet, in my opinion. Any short you take from where we're at now is more of a could statement versus a should statement. So could it work? Sure. But do I want to put my money at risk when something's just a could? No. I only want to put money at risk when I say something should happen. So if we extend emotionally up there, then it becomes more of a should statement. And I also wrote down that this very well justifiably could be put in the strong stocks looking for continuation section on any kind of dip in the levels that start to hold. So it very well could be a long idea as well. I threw it in here just because it is kind of getting extended, but it's not there yet, right? And I do also have written down that A is still on the list, but it still just needs to kind of show me some more extremity. I will still watch for lower highs to set in with defined risk and try to fade that. Yeah, and that's it. I actually made a note that like finding short setups was a little bit more difficult this week, and typically I don't want to force myself to find trades. I want to just take the ones that are obvious. When I start looking through charts, things need to jump out at me. They need to just scream, here's an idea. If they don't, then you're kind of in the realm of you're just trying to manufacture an idea. You're trying to manufacture a trade. And as humans, we have this uncanny ability to just find stuff when we want to see it. You know, it's just confirmation bias. So I actually wrote down, I didn't throw it in the Sunday prep, but all the weak stocks looking for continuation ideas from last week carry over to this week on levels if they break, right? If FUBO loses the level I gave you, if BLNK loses the level I gave you, if ARKK, the ARK ETF, loses that level that we had identified, they all still will be on my watch for weak stocks looking for continuation. I just didn't want to rehash all the ideas. That's it, guys. I hope you guys are prepared. I'll see you Monday. Let's get this. Let's crush it. Peace.